We do have a question from Kenzie Zimmerman. She asked, what is your stance on tattoos?
My stance on tattoos, actually...
And do you have any family members with tattoos?
I don't even know what you're talking about, man. You're slandering my children.
I am not.
Let me look this up really quick. Gosh, I believe it's in Leviticus 20, but I can't remember. Do you know where the verse is? You're looking for me? Okay.
19:28.
Okay.
You shall make any cuttings for flesh of the dead or tattoo any marks on you. I am the Lord.
Okay. So in that passage, that's the passage that speaks about tattoos.
You shall not shave around the sides of your head or disfigure your edges of your beard either. So
yeah, you're not supposed to share that part.
Oh, part. Sorry.
That was my part. So this is the whole passage. It says, "You shall not shave around the sides of your head, nor shall you disfigure the edges of your beard. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor tattoo any marks on you. I am the Lord." And then it goes on and talks about some other stuff. And so when you look at that, the marks on their bodies, it looks like had to do with pagan worship. So when they're shaving around the sides of their head and disfiguring the edges of their beard, it looks like all of that stuff, including the cuttings of the flesh for the dead, had something to do with pagan worship. You'll remember that in 1 Kings chapter 18 when Elijah is having the contest with the 400 prophets of Baal, 450 prophets of Baal. That one of the things that they did was they started cutting their arms. They started cutting themselves and crying out, "Oh Baal, hear us!" And it was an act of it was an act of intensity to get their gods to hear them, and it was something that was common with the pagans. So the cutting of the flesh and many times it looks like the whole shaving around the side of their head or shaving the sides of their beards was something that was connected with pagan worship too. So if the cutting in their flesh and the disfiguring the edges of their beard and the shaving around the sides of their heads has to do with paganism, then the tattoos would have had to do with paganism also. And so tattooing just in general is not something that I would necessarily connect with that. When I look at tattoos nowadays, it's something completely different than when I was a kid. When I had some buddies of mine that when we were 19 years old, they were going to go out and get a tattoo, and they wanted to know if I wanted to go do it. Well, I grew up in a military family, and so I'd seen guys with tattoos. Guys that are my age now. And so they got the tattoos when they were in their 20s and, then they're in their 60s and they have saggy tattoos. And so my issue with going and getting a tattoo was like, first off, I don't know, I don't have a picture or a saying or anything that I love so much that I want it stuck on my body for the next 50 years.
Yeah,
that was my first issue, and so it was never really a temptation with me. He mentioned my kids. My kids they weren't allowed to have tattoos until they were out from under my control, and so when they turned 18, I said, "You're not getting a tattoo."
Don't care if you're 18. You still live under my roof,
right? No, actually, when they turned 18, I was like, "You get to do what you want with yourself." But it's one of those things. I'm ambivalent about tattoos. I'm whatever. My son, the first tattoo he got was on his bicep, and it says, "To my heart, to sing your grace." And, that was his big excuse.
It's a song lyric or a hymn lyric.
Yeah, it's a hymn lyric. I'm honoring God. It's like, yeah, you go for that, buddy. No, I love him, and I have no doubt that that's what he was doing. But that's the passage, and so it's a matter of it looks like it's connected with paganism. And so obviously, if it's not connected with paganism, then that's not the issue.
That would apply to today too. Then if you've got a tattoo that's obviously demonic or has to do with, the occult or anything,
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah.
get it removed. There you go. Tattoo removal. It's painful and expensive, but
I've got some friends who, over the years, again because of background and stuff that have come to the Lord, that have had some tattoos that they regret. And so naked women on their forearms, and they follow Jesus. It's hard. And I did a baptism not too long ago, probably about 3-4 years ago. Were you up there when I baptized that guy up at the ranch?
I remember.
He took off his shirt and he had a huge tattoo. I think it was a naked lady on his back. So I'm baptizing a guy with a tattoo of a naked lady. It's like, So dumb decisions that we make when we're younger. So.